Welcome, virtual gliding enthusiasts. In this video, we're going to take a look at making the best use of ghosts in Condor to optimize your skill development and your racing. So, why is it a good idea to use ghosts? There's some great benefits to it. In Condor, there's not always a lot of races, particularly if you're in certain time zones. For example, in North America, there might only be 2 or 3 really competitive tasks a week, and if you miss 2 or 3 of those days, you don't get to do any racing all week. And so this is a great way to catch up on races that you might have enjoyed or you might have missed. And another side benefit of that, if there's other races that some races have big join times, they have arrow tow launching, they have wide start windows, and so it could take upwards of an hour to get going before the race even starts. And flying with ghosts, you get to skip all of this. And if you fly with ghosts and if you download the tracks without knowing who the winners are and what the results are, it is actually very, very close to doing the race for real. The only minor difference being is that you get to benefit from the ghost decisions, but the ghost cannot benefit from following you. Flying with ghosts allows you to follow and learn from top pilots. And another interesting thing you can do with it is if there's a specific section or leg that you were wondering what could have been, or what the lift line was like, you could actually fast forward to that part of the race, turn on thermal helpers, and investigate what it might have been like. So, to take a look at how ghosts work, this is the flight planner menu in Condor where you can see the ghosts here. But first, we want to download some ghosts. So there's actually a tool for doing this. I'll get into another tool that kind of has more options and will place the ghost directly in the right folder and do a little bit more. It's a little more complicated to set up, but this one here will download your ghosts pretty simply to where you need them to go. And I'll post links for that in the video description. So once you find a race that you want to do, so you're going to go to Condor Club, you're going to go to the competitions, and you'll see what races, maybe there's one you have in mind that you're looking for, and you'll go to that. And what you can do there is on the race results tab, you can right click it, copy link address, and that way you can get the link without actually seeing the outcome, which will obviously give you an unfair benefit and kind of ruin the competitive nature of the experience for you. So once you do that, then you can just paste the link in there and then start downloading. And after you've downloaded your ghosts, then what you can do is you'll go here, you're going to hit load, you're going to go to flight tracks. After you've downloaded the ghosts, what you'll have to do is actually go to wherever you've downloaded them and then copy them into your Condor 3 and flight tracks. You're going to copy all the FTR files into there. And then once you do that, then you're going to load them up here and you'll see a list of flight tracks, and you can just pick the whichever one of the ones, any of them from the race that you want to do. And you can select that. And then what you'll do is you go note them. And what I'd recommend doing is actually just checking all these to start with. Because once you change settings in the task planner, then these will disappear and you're going to have to adjust your filters to get them to show back up. But if you check them to start with, then they'll be there. You can even use your arrow key spacebar to kind of quickly check them like that. And so you get all the ghosts checked that you want to fly with. And then you're going to go to your task. And here's the main trick is you want to advance the start time, or most people probably want to advance the start time to skip ahead of the join time window, because when you join on a live multiplayer server, there's a time window and you have to start at the very start of this window when you're flying with a ghost. So you want to skip forward of that. So let's say the join time was 20 minutes and then there was maybe a rate, maybe some races might have a race time in race in 10 minutes, and basically try to skip forward to all of that. And one of the things you can do to know when is a good time to start is if you go back to Condor Club, and again, what I would do here is I would look away from the list of pilot names so I don't see who is who, and I would maybe just click on a couple example races here, and I would see the task start. And I'd look at a few. I might not click on the very top person, because then I might know to use their start time to know who's who. But if I look at a few examples, so it looks like everyone was starting around 1:30 in this example. And then I'm going to go back to Condor, and I'm going to put my start time basically for right about 1:30. I'm not going to waste any time getting into this. There is the 1 minute wait time before you can actually start the race to keep in mind. And the time window, it doesn't really matter. You can, if for some reason you needed to open it wider, you could. So that's how you advance the time. One of the things to be mindful of the time, actually two things, is one, if this if the task has randomized weather, then you're basically flying an apples and oranges comparison because the weather is going to be different every time. Fortunately, most competitions don't use this setting. So as long as this is not checked, you'll have the exact same weather as the real race. With one caveat, however, what happens is the weather zone movements. So if the weather zones are animated with movements like this, then that animation starts moving from whenever this start time is. So if there's moving weather zones, then you're going to have possibly majorly different weather or slightly different weather than the real race. So then the comparison and kind of that apples to apples redoing the real thing just as it was might not be quite the same. So something to keep in mind if it is animated weather, you might want to do a different task, or if you're patient, you could start it at the regular time that the task originally had, and then everything's going to be okay if you don't mind waiting around however long, half hour for the start. So that's the big thing to keep in mind with how the races match up and compare in terms of weather to the ghosts. If these aren't animated, then everything's going to be exactly the same. And a fortunate thing is in Condor 3, the ghosts seem to be in exactly the correct position, even if you advance this time. In Condor 2, the ghosts would actually seem to shift out of place a bit. So even though we changed settings here, we can still see that the ghosts are checked. So they're good to go. And there's a few other things that you can do here, again, to optimize your time. And one is to maximize the start height. So you're starting as high as possible. And so basically you don't have to waste any time trying to climb before the start. And something you can do is if the start gate is still higher than the start height, then you can turn on height recovery and turn off the penalty for height recovery, plane recovery, and then you can use a queue, which will jump you up 2,000 feet. So that's a way to get a quick start and be able to start the race right at the right time. So that's some of the settings that you can use to optimize it. You may want to turn on real-time scoring, although sometimes the calculations with the Ghost real-time scoring is not correct. So those are some of the things you can do to get it set up so that you can just jump right into the race right away and get going. The one other thing that can be useful that I'll point out is if you're in the situation, so for example, on this task here, I made a decision which proved out to be very poor to do a big deviation to try to get under a bunch of big clouds, which often in Condor 3 works really good, but it did not work in this case. So this might be something where if I was really curious, like what could have it been? Was it, was I just on a slightly bad line and there's way better lift if I would have just been slightly different location? What you can do there is actually move your air start way over wherever you want to go to. And you're not going to be actually flying the task in this case, but you'll be, you can fly the same location at the desired time. And then I would bump the time up to wherever my glider was, at that point in time in the race. So let's say I was there, I would look at the track and I would see what time I was at the location. I move the air start there, and now I can actually skip forward to basically examine a line. And to do that, I would also want to turn on thermal helpers to be able to investigate, hey, what happened here? What's going on? So that's how you can make the best use, or some options for using Ghosts and Condor. One other things I'll quickly just show here is I mentioned the downloading tool, and that's on this CupX website. So I think this will just download the tracks the FT and you want the FTR files, that will download that directly into your downloads directory. There's another tool here. It takes a little bit more to set up, but once it's set up, this tool here will, I guess I'll just quickly show you. If you're not interested, you can just end the video here now, but I'll just kind of show you how it works in case you are interested. So this one here, you go here and I would just copy this link address, and then it will highlight and start downloading on its own. So it will download the tracks. I'm just going to say no because I don't want all of them here. I'm just going to hit escape actually to get out of here, and I'll just show with like a single track sample here. So I'm just going to highlight like 2 tracks here, and then I'm going to copy those so I can even just copy a couple of tracks that I want. And so it gives the option here. It will copy the FTRs directly into the folder, so I don't have to like move them over. It will download the Condor Club IGC files, and it will also convert to kind of the native Condor IGC files, which allow you to analyze those files in Show Condor IGC, which is a really good analysis tool. So what happens here is after it's finished downloading, it gives me the option to directly launch these tracks, and it actually opens them all right away into Show Condor IGC. So it automates kind of various aspects of the downloading process, puts them into the Condor Flight Tracks folder, opens it automatically into Show IGC. So that's another option for a downloading tool that you can use if you want it to do a little bit more. Anyway, I think that's about it for Ghosts. Thanks for tuning in to this video.